your community. Long story short, those are people that are using your system, 1 to 3 times a month, or less than once a month. But you also have what we consider to be a lot of frequent flyers. 5 times a week, 8%, 2 to 4 times a week, 24%, 1 time a week, 17%. So though it says, 52% on the monthly side, you do have, 48% of your community at least using your park system once a week. Reasons why people don't use the parks, or why they use it. Walk for exercise, off the charts. Why? It is by far the most participated activity across the country. Walking for exercise is done by over 2/3 of Americans. Walk dogs, right there with walking for exercise, especially if you have more than one dog. Play in a playground, picnicking, using athletic courts, ride a bike, watch birds. Why is this important? Sometimes we lean into parks or we lean into programs and services, but we fail to recognize that most people use park systems for self-directed activity. These are all very self-directed activities. They're not registering for a program per se. It is how people engage with park systems. So how they use a park system gives us a better sense of some of those recommendations later about how to improve parks. How would you rate the physical condition of all of the city parks and recreation facilities? This is where you start to see maybe a connection back to levels of dissatisfaction. The excellent rating is 20%. National benchmark is 35. Good is 50%. National benchmark is 47. And then you see the fair and poor being higher. Again, still 70% of your community is rating it as excellent and good. But when you kind of consider that level of dissatisfaction, this might be one of the factors that influences that. When we think about reasons preventing people from, visiting a park or visiting them more often, great result right off the bat. Nothing really keeps people from visiting more often. However, the two that are greater than the national average for the city of Phoenix is do not feel safe using parks and facilities, and lack of restrooms. Many of the others are at or below the national benchmark. So if we are going to focus on a couple of very significant barriers here, it's going to be those two. We heard the safety issue time and time again in all of the conversations that we've had with focus groups, and all the other public engagement component. And that has led us to not only dive into the park assessments, which were done through a lens of crime prevention through environmental design, but also, and we'll talk about it a little bit later, a hyper-focus assessment of the park ranger system, and where there are opportunities to potentially improve upon that to help get at this barrier. Park and rec facility maintenance. Again, the blue, very satisfied and satisfied are in the blue. And you actually have decent levels here with regards to very satisfied and satisfied with each of these maintenance activities. The one that's closest to the bottom or at the bottom is restroom maintenance. And quite honestly, that's not as horrible as we've seen in other communities. But it is the area where you have the lowest levels of satisfaction, was at about 45%. When we ask people which ones are most important to them, park lighting, graffiti vandalism, restroom maintenance, landscape care, trash litter, waste pickup. So every one of these here ties back to a sense of safety. So if you think about why people might feel unsafe, if park lighting isn't up to speed, if they see graffiti or vandalism, that they might assume that it's unsafe. Restroom maintenance, something's unclean, people don't necessarily feel safe. Landscape care, if things aren't well maintained, again, perceptions, and then trash litter, waste pickup. All of these can contribute to that level of lettable as unsafe. Again, it is not to say that you're doing a poor job of these. It's just that if we're really focusing on making that connection between safety and maintenance, these are the areas that matter most to your community. Program participation quality barriers, a little bit low in terms of the overall level of participation, 29% versus 36% national average, 71% no. However, for folks that are participating in your programs, they're rating them as excellent or good at a rate of 86%. So this is great news to know. Why we do some of these surveys is to figure out where we need to, what kind of programs we need to offer to better meet community need. In terms of reasons people don't participate, number one reason, I don't know what is offered. Too busy, not interested, too far from my home are your top three. Everything I kind of highlighted in red there are the ones that you are number one, the first 5 or 6 there are greater than the national average. Use programs offered by other agencies is also kind of, it says below the national average. But the key here is to recognize that though people are not participating at the rate that you would like them to, they are actually using you as their go-to, meaning they're not going elsewhere. They are still relying on you. So it becomes incumbent upon the city of Phoenix to continue, though you're not reaching out as many people as you want, they still want to participate with you all. So making that connection of how better we can make people connect on our programs and services is key. In terms of why people or how people learn, knowing that we don't know what is offered is number one. This is how people do learn. City website, friends and neighbors, and then banners at city parks are the top three, and then email blasts are top four. So it's great to know why people or how people are currently learning, but how do they prefer to learn? It's interesting is that on this chart here, it was offered, but Facebook is not recognized as a way in which people are learning. However, it is the third way in which people would prefer to learn. So city website aligns with how people are learning. Email blasts are in the top 5, but using Facebook as a way to promote and ensure that people are getting their information that way is your social media go-to. Park amenity and priorities. We shared a little bit of this last time. The big takeaway here is that there are no low priorities. High priority means that you have people that want you to provide more of this yesterday. Medium priority means you kind of have it right size, but you still need to plan for population growth. But there are no low priorities. I've been doing this a long time, both on the consultant side and the practitioner side. I've never seen a city, especially an urban city like yours, a large city like yours, have no low priorities. And we did do a quick cross tabulation. I'll say this. There were no low priorities at all across any council districts. So sometimes you'll see, high priorities, low priorities show up. But when we looked at the cross tabulation based on council district, for the most part, what we see is the high priority is across all council districts. The medium priority is across all council districts. Might be a tick here or there, where something jumps up into high priority or maybe falls into the medium priority, but nothing across the city was egregious in terms of differences. Programs and services, exact same exercise. Again, not to belabor the point, but no low priority. And we saw the same thing in terms of cross tabulation across council districts as well. When we think about support, the 4 most willing actions that people are most willing to fund. So I highlighted everything in red here that has the word in, I believe, like the top 9, that has the word existing in it. General repair and increased maintenance safety of parks. Expand, improve walking trails, improve lighting, improve restrooms, add Wi-Fi, improve ADA accessibility, improve playgrounds, improve existing aquatic facilities. It gets down to develop new parks at 17% before you break the take care of what you already have mantra. And so this speaks loud and clear, not just how much, what actions do you support? And that's great. But when we ask people what they're most willing to fund, this kind of gives you a really strong sense of, hey, our first priority, if we want you to use taxpayer dollars, we want you to use it to improve what we already have. It's a huge takeaway. Any questions? I mean, I'm happy to continue to move through this, but I want to switch gears to level of service. However you would love to uh, run this is fine by me. Okay, we'll go to level of service. So, what is this? Sometimes we think about level of service based on population-based standards. We are trying to lean into a more modern way of defining this, and this is really going to be about access. Do people have access to parks, recreation facilities, pools, dog parks, splash pads, pickleball courts? Um, there's a lot of different considerations. I will not read all of this, but what you currently have, what your access standards are, in terms of distance and time in which it takes people to get to any one thing, how population growth is going to impact current and future levels of service, availability of land, and or the amount of undeveloped parkland that you may have, and of course financial sustainability, but all within the context of a total cost of ownership, recognizing that capital investment is easy, ongoing maintenance, ongoing programs and services, funding of a park ranger system in full is where the costs kind of start to add up year over year. Um, this is just an example I think I mentioned last time from Clark County, Nevada, what we had done recently. Just very quickly, we did just recreation centers, parks, and pools. We are going to dive into doing amenities for you as well, probably the top 5 or 6 amenities where people have highest needs. In looking at these maps just very quickly, what these tell you is the light blue areas is where you have the gaps in terms of levels of service. So when we look at recreation centers in Clark County, this was their urban disposal boundary. So basically the Las Vegas metro area. Everything in light blue on the low end, look, that southwestern area basically is where they had gaps for recreation services. When you look at parks, again, it's a smattering in the southwest area, but also a little bit up in the northeast, a little bit in the east, and a little bit in the north. And then pools was very concentrated in the south and the northwest. This gives you a sense of using these kind of tools in a way to really help identify what those gaps. What we want to do, because your community is really about investing and reinvesting in your parks, is to look at amenities as well. Such things as off-leash dog parks, splash pads. It could be skate features. We're going to work through with staff to identify what those specifically are, as well as leaning into the community need components. So just summary and next steps. This is kind of where we're at, where we're going, level of service, the park equity analysis. This will also include historical capital improvement expenditure assessment. Where have we spent money? What have we spent that on? Are we doing a good job of investing and reinvesting equitably across your system? How does it compare to expenditures on a per acre basis in certain areas? There's a lot of different equity metrics that we want to lean into as well. And then, as mentioned, operational assessments are key. We are great. Parks and recreation master plans have to be implemented. The only way they can be implemented is through operations, and making sure that program services, park maintenance, park rangers, the three kind of legged stool of the interface that you see with your public day in and day out, those have to be very, very strong going forward in order for this to be implemented. And then, of course, cost estimating and prioritization for capital. Questions, concerns, comments, suggestions?
Great. Thank you for that comprehensive follow-up. Before I open it up to board for questions, we do have a public speaker. We have Mike Norton. He's not online. Oh, wow. So, well, if he does, you'll let me know. Thank you. So any board members have questions? Go ahead, Rick.
Hi, thanks for the comprehensive presentation. And I do want to compliment the city staff and whoever was involved in designing the technological ways that people can engage with the maps and that sort of thing. Really, really good way to vacuum in input. My question is about the timing. of the results of all of this and how we will weave into an upcoming bond process, which you all are preparing for. So this may be, Martin, this may be for you to answer.
Mr. Chair and members of the Parks Board and Board Member Naymark, we are anticipating the Parks Master Plan to conclude late summer or early fall. So at that point, we will work with the Parks Board and Mayor and Council to determine, what's next, right? We have our existing 5-year CIP plan that we will probably tinker a little bit. You and I have talked a little bit about the Go Bond process. City departments are scheduled to submit their bond projects by the end of this calendar year. And then, of course, we'll go through the approval process, and that's probably another, 6 to 8 months out before we start doing bond projects. So it's all going to coincide. We're going to have to work together as the Parks Department and Mike and his team to try to deliver on the master plan as well as our bond projects.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a comment. I think it's really important to get as much of this information into that process as possible, because you spend a lot of time and effort and money, et cetera, trying to get this data and feedback. And it'd be a shame if you had to submit all that to the bond committee before you had all of this data completed. So thank you.
Great, thank you. We'll go ahead and go to Board Member Porter.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry not to be with you. I'm at the tail end of the terrible cold that's going around and bronchitis. I just wanted to comment. I love the survey. It's so helpful to us because so many of the issues that are kind of captured in the survey come to us on the Parks Board. And one thing that really popped out for me is that the things that people are asking for or are expressing through the survey are their priorities are not necessarily the things that constituencies come to the Parks Board and ask for. I think people who've been on the Parks Board for more than 2 months would, if you said, what are people really asking for based on the people who come in front of us? We might hear about pickleball. We might hear about specific trails in the mountain preserves, and those are important, not to take away from the importance, but I'm very struck by the differential in when you just go out and conduct a proper survey, the responses. I noted that people are not concerned about parks being too far from them, that we scored Arizona, I guess Phoenix Park scored, I can't remember, but equal or lower than the national average. And also the transportation isn't an issue, because we have heard many times over the years from the Trust for Public Lands Parks rating project that scores Phoenix parks low in that we don't have parks within the walkable distance that their criteria sets forth. And so while that also may be important, it's not registering as a concern for residents. I'm very grateful for the survey results, understanding that people are prioritizing making sure that parks feel safe and feel clean is what is my big takeaway. So I really just feel very grateful that the parks leadership made this survey happen, and I greatly appreciate the results, the presentation on the results. Thanks.
Thank you, Sarah. Any other questions from our board? I have one quick question, but before I ask that question, I want to acknowledge 2 brand new board members, their first meeting here. We have Rick Naymark. If anyone's familiar with the city, knows Rick. City of Phoenix, Rick. And online we have Jessica Fotinos. Jessica and I go way back. We've been friends for quite a while, also very much involved in the community. So my one piece of advice to the two of you, Rick, you seem to be pretty much up on this. The board as it sits now has had several presentations on this already. Please feel free, and I'm making Marty and Felicita available to, if you have any questions, because we have been covering quite a bit. And as you saw, it's very comprehensive. And I appreciate that it's very comprehensive. And there's been a lot of information that we've shared here. So if you feel you need to catch up, please reach out to Marty or Felicita, and we welcome you to the board. Thank you. My one quick question, and I don't know if this makes sense. I agree with everything Sarah said. We're not blind anymore in terms of what we know, what the community wants, what their priorities are, and I think this is great. We talked about the percentages, but do we have an overall number of those that actually use our city parks? I don't know, in a year's time. Is there like this number that we know, or is that available?
That was that 78% of your community is using your park system. So about 4 out of every 5 people.
I think that's very, so
yeah. That's a strong number. That's in line with what we see from a national average perspective. And then again, you have, I think we said 48% of those people, almost half of those people are using your park system weekly. So you have high usage, or, high usage, 4 out of every 5 people. But you also have a lot of people touching it weekly, which again drives home the point of condition, maintenance, safety. Those are all key variables, especially when you have high frequency. It's one thing to use it, but when you double down on high frequency of use, it has a tendency to, kind of bring some of those issues to the forefront.
Great. Thank you. And thank you both. And thank you for the presentation.
You're very welcome. Thank you very much.
So next we have the Urban Farming Project, 32nd Avenue, McDowell.
Mr. Chair and members of the Parks Board, we're excited to present and discuss a unique and impactful project that will be located at 32nd Avenue and McDowell Road. The initiative represents an important opportunity to enhance community engagement and improve the surrounding area. Somebody. Ray, will you click that through?
And who's presenting? I have William Adams, but I don't think you're William Adams.
Mr. Chair, hold on one moment.
Yes.
All right, thank you. They turned off the clicker on me. All right. The Parks and Recreation Department owns an 11-acre parcel of land located at 32nd Avenue, McDowell Road. The parcel was purchased by the City of Phoenix Neighborhood Services Department in 2005 and 2006 using Brownfield's bond funds. The property was later transferred to the Parks Department. Today, the site remains undeveloped. During the summer of 2024, the Parks Department, together with the City Manager's Office, the Office of Environmental Programs, Streets Department, Office of Innovation, and Community and Economic Development held interdepartmental meetings to explore potential options for establishing an urban farm at this site. I am also happy to share that the City of Phoenix has a partnership with Bloomberg Associates, who will be assisting the City of Phoenix with fundraising and RFP preparation. Now we'll turn the presentation over to Environmental Programs Manager, Roseanne Albright.
Good evening. Thank you so much, Chair and members of the board, for allowing us to come talk to you about this exciting opportunity. As he mentioned, I'm Roseanne Albright, Environmental Programs Manager over our Brownfields Land Recycling Program and our Food Systems Program. And I'm really excited about this opportunity because I've been familiar with this site since about, the early 2000s when I first started with the city and was starting up the Brownfields program. This was a site that there was some interest in looking at it for other uses, but there were some environmental concerns that needed to be addressed in order for the site to be redeveloped. And now that we are looking at the site as a potential urban farm education community project, we're marrying brownfields and food systems together, and that's a dream come true for me. So I want to thank the Parks and Recreation Department and all of our partners for really recognizing that we can take these tough industrial sites and turn them into a benefit for the community. So I want to just cover the environmental issues just to let you know that those have been cleared and to give you a little bit of history of the site. So our office, the Office of Environmental Programs, conducted initial environmental investigations again in the early 2000s about this site because another department wanted to use it for housing. So it was a former trucking facility, and there were some leaking underground storage tanks that needed to be removed and soil contamination addressed. So the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality worked with that trucking facility, and the tanks were removed, cleanup was done, and there's no further action on those underground storage tanks. So we don't have to worry about petroleum contamination. The other issue came from the Air Liquide facility that was there as well, and they used a line pond, and that is shown in your map on the left side of the slide. In the square black area to the top northwest corner is where that line pond was. And what it resulted in was high pH soil. So if you have a high pH in the soil, it can cause irritation and you may breathe it in. And there are things that you don't want people to be exposed to, particularly since at that time, this site was being considered for housing. So we had the opportunity just a couple of years ago using general obligation brownfields bond funds to partner with Parks Department and use about $426,000 to remove that high pH soil and replace it with clean fill. So at this point in time, that site is ready to go. All the environmental concerns have been addressed and we are ready for redevelopment. So I want to give you a little bit of background on how we got to this thought about an urban farm type of project. So in the food systems world, we have a goal of all Phoenix residents should have access to healthy, affordable, and culturally relevant food. This is a goal that's included in our general plan, Plan Phoenix, both in 2015 and 2025, in our 2021 Climate Action Plan, and also specifically in our 2025 and soon to be released 2030 Food Action Plans. So it's something that the council has approved, and we have the opportunity to continue working toward that goal. We created that goal because we definitely have some challenges in our city with regards to food and access to food. So one of our big challenges is food deserts. And a food desert is an area where people living in that area do not have easy access to healthy food. They have to travel more than a mile, sometimes even 2 miles or more to get access to healthy food, whether it's from a grocery store, a farmer's market, an urban farm, whatever it may be. And in Phoenix, we have 43 out of the 55 food deserts in Maricopa County. So about half of our city's population live in a food desert. And on this map, on this slide, you can see in the pink areas are the food deserts, and our 32nd Avenue and McDowell site is roughly in that red dot. So it's smack dab in a food desert with lots of food deserts surrounding it. So definitely an area where food access is an issue. We also are seeing agricultural land decreasing, and in general, our food system is fractured. So we have an opportunity to help address that. Some of the benefits of a project like this, which is, I want you to think of it as urban agriculture plus. We can do education there. We can have community type projects. We can have a space where there are economic opportunities for our local food producers, many of whom are small producers. We have some farmers in our city and in our state that are excellent. They're some of the best. They know how to grow in extreme heat. They know how to grow using less water. There's an opportunity for entrepreneurs, food tech entrepreneurs, some opportunities to do something new and to give residents jobs and provide education and training and build their skills in various areas of food production. It obviously can increase access to healthy food. We also have the opportunity to provide nutrition and health kinds of classes, cooking classes. And it's a place that we want to create for residents to gather together, to learn and share with each other, really create a use that does all of these things. And at the same time, it's helping us advance toward our city's local food system goals. one of the things that we've done recently with our Office of Environmental Programs is as we're doing our 2030 Food Action Plan, all last year we did community engagement and held surveys, events, workshops, participating in tabling at other festivals and other events to gather input on what residents really want to see to help them improve access in their neighborhoods. So this proposed project addresses 4 of the top 10 solutions that we found that were residents were asking for, particularly in the Maryvale area. So the #1 request across the board throughout the city was for neighborhood food production. People really wanted the ability to go walk a few blocks from their home to be able to either grow, to learn how to grow, to go to a farmer's market, to have a place where they could even have potluck dinners and share food together. So that was really important, #1. It also, we found that gardening education was important, #3. Our #4 in the top 10 was health and nutrition classes, closely followed by cooking classes fall into that as well. And then a farmer's market. So all of these types of uses could be on this site. It also helps us to address those food system challenges we talked about earlier, increasing access to healthy food in this food desert area and surrounding area as well, and also creating those economic opportunities, providing educational opportunities, particularly for youth and adults, and helping us to strengthen that local food system. So how are we going to do this? Before we even want to move forward, we need to hear what the community wants. We really want to hear directly from them about their needs and ideas on this specific site to really hear what they're dreaming about. So in order to do that, we're going to engage the community starting in February through June. And we're going to have someone help us with that because we as the city like to engage our community-based organizations and those that are experts in this area. And we're looking at engaging, thank you, Dr. Vieira, Unlimited Potential, one of our community-based organizations that is very familiar with the Maryvale area. And they've also worked with our office and the Office of Sustainability as we did our climate, energy, and food plan community engagement last year. So they did a really great job of outreach, getting residents to the table, really fostering that trust with the city, and really helping us to gather that meaningful input that went into the energy plan, our food plan, and climate plan as well. So engagement is going to be done within a 2-mile radius of the site because, again, keep in mind, we're trying to do neighborhood food production. We plan to host 4 to 5 community engagements, workshops, or open house style events. We'll be able to provide childcare, bilingual facilitation, and healthy, I should have put in front of that, healthy foods and beverages for our residents. So all of that input that we gather will help us to provide and design project concepts that we can use in future requests for proposal as we move toward developing this particular site. So it's really exciting to be able to work not only with city departments, but also directly with the community to provide a kind of site that has been vacant for so many years. And really, even though it's been cleaned up and it's fenced, it's really an eyesore. It's not doing anything right now to something that can be a really thriving amenity for the community. All right, so I'm going to turn it back to Marty.
Thank you, Roseanne. Roseanne mentioned the community engagement piece. Let me talk a little bit about the timeline. Community engagement from February through June. Concurrently, we'll be working with the city engineer's office and SRP to determine the cost to get water to the parcel. So that's something that we'll be working on. July, we will issue the request for proposal. Hopefully that will be out for maybe 8 to 12 weeks, depending on how many proposals we get. I do want to let the board know that we do not have funding. We still need to secure funding to get water to the location. So we'll be discussing that within the department and then hopefully get an operator under agreement by mid to late fall. So with that, we'll open it up for questions.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Board members, any questions? Sarah, go right ahead.
Yeah. I'm assuming, or I want to make sure that all of the beds are going to be raised beds. Is that correct? All of the garden beds will be raised beds?
Thank you, Board Member Porter. We have not gotten to that level of detail in this particular situation because we have cleaned up the site. If there is interest in doing some portion for in-ground farming, that is possible. We are in SRP irrigation district. We are imagining that it could be a combination of all of those things, really make it an innovative property where there could be in-ground greenhouse, storage container, vertical farming, you know, all different types of farming that could be there as well.
So the reason I asked the raised bed question is I know there's an exception in the Groundwater Management Act for new irrigated crops in raised beds. And I saw a slide that showed raised beds. But of course, it would be important to make sure that this urban farm complies with the Groundwater Management Act, which prohibits new irrigated agriculture. And I'm even though it's within SRP, I think it's still subject to the act. I would just raise that as a thing to look into. Maybe you already have, Roseanne.
Yeah. Thank you, Board Member Porter. We definitely will be working with Water and Max Wilson to make sure we abide by the Groundwater Management Act and any other laws that we need to. Thank you for raising that.
Mhm.
Any other questions? Marty, can they go back to that timeline for me real quick, please? So secure funding and water infrastructure. So to me, that's a very key yes or no go on this whole project. And you said that might be done by July 2026 or June of 2026.
Mr. Chair and members of the Parks Board, the community engagement will be done by June.
Okay.
Concurrently, we should get the cost estimates on the infrastructure to bring water to the site. You mentioned the funding part. We do not have that funding yet, so that's going to be a discussion within the Parks Department and other.
That's one of my biggest questions in terms of sustainable funding on a project like this. I've seen maybe one or two that have been successful. I know the one in South Phoenix that has been very successful, but I think that's almost like the exception. So I guess for me, that's going to be one of my biggest questions when you bring it back is what does sustainable funding look like? It's a lot of investment, obviously, and I know we can turn it into something else, but for this project, which I think is very necessary, I think that's going to be key in terms of making it a success, because I've seen lots where they come in and it's gone the next day. Like, I don't know. I don't think we had anything to do with the one on Central Indian School. Thank God. But anyway, I saw what happened there. And I think that was probably because of funding and they become eyesores. So again, that will be one of my biggest concerns, questions when we come back. But I am excited about it. I think a lot of time, energy, and effort has put into this. And I think it's a very needed project for that area. I think your food desert map really hit that point. So great, thank you. Any other questions? No, great. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
So next we have the 2023 general obligation go bond aquatic facility renovations at Maryvale, Maryview, and Holiday Parks.
Mr. Chair and members of the Parks Board, I'm going to ask Assistant Director Brandy Barrett to introduce the next item.
Thank you so much, Marty. Chair Moya, members of the board, good evening. As part of the voter-approved 2023 General Obligation Bond Program, Maryvale Pool was identified for renovation and development into a regional aquatics facility. Additionally, existing pools at Maryview and Holiday Parks will be repurposed into splash pads as part of this project. Together, these projects were designed to provide additional aquatic amenities to the community and their neighborhoods and were allocated $14.35 million in GO bond funding. This evening, Deputy Parks and Recreation Director Scott Coughlin will walk us through the design and public engagement process for these projects. I would also like to recognize Tim Starkey from the design firm CVL Consultants, who is with us in the audience today. And with that, I'll turn the presentation over to Scott.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the Parks Board. Thank you for the opportunity to talk about the Maryvale project. As Brandy stated, the project is to renovate Maryvale Pool into a regional pool, very similar to what was done in Cortez in 2014. And then to repurpose the pools at Maryvale and Holiday Parks into splash pads. Just as a reminder, Maryvale Park is at 51st Avenue in Campbell. Maryview Park is at 55th Avenue in Osborne. And Holiday Park is at 67th Avenue in Minnesota. Let's review what a regional pool and what a park splash pad is. So a regional pool is actually a 3-pool layout. It has a 25-meter heated pool with 2 diving boards, a large swim lesson areas, a kids pool with interactive play structure, a large water slide. It is 100% ADA accessible. It's an extensive shade and large deck areas to accommodate the people. A park splash pad is a recirculated splash pad, and we're doing that for water conservation. The previous splash pads that were created are all using potable water. So the new ones that we've done over the last several years at Maryview and El Oso Parks and Civic Space are recirculated just like a swimming pool. So they have a complete filtration system. Everything is self-contained. It's a much more efficient way to do a splash pad and conserve water at the same time. We've added integrated shade to the splash pads, 8 to 12 spray features, and there's a lot of trees that are planted in and around the pad to, again, increase the shade and the reduction of heat. So I want to talk about the design team and the process. So the design team is made up of management, recreation supervisors, park supervisors from the Northwest Division, where these splash pads will be, and also where Maryvale Pool is, but also special operations, which has our aquatics team. Everyone on the team that was part of that worked with Tim Starkey at CVL has previous splash pad construction and pool construction and operation. So they were the subject matter experts that sat down, and we worked over several months to come up with concepts. I wanted to talk about the process of the community engagement. That was really the key part of this process. We wanted to make sure that those communities in that area had input into what was being done at those facilities, the concepts that were put together. So we worked together with the designer to come up with 3 specific concepts for each site, all unique, all a little different, but all of them with the same parameters of what we're using currently. So in the community engagement process, there were several public meetings, one of them at Maryvale Community Center, one of them at Holiday Park, and one at Maryview Park. We had interpreters there. All 3 projects were presented at each location to give the public an opportunity to see what was being put out there, but also to provide an opportunity for in-person voting and to get comments back from the community. The councilwoman from D5 was in attendance at these meetings. We also put up banners at each site and QR codes at each site that provided information on all of the options and a voting option for the public to use. We used QR codes, school visits, over 2,800 postcards were sent out to homes in 3 to 4 miles radius of these areas. 28 or 700 emails, all in English and Spanish. Everything was done in English and Spanish. We put together media kits for the council offices to send out through their connections. We utilized NSD. We also utilized our social media platform with our Parks PIO We even extended the deadline an additional 3 weeks to make sure we had an opportunity for the community to see what these projects were and have an opportunity to vote. So now I want to talk about the results of the process. So for the Maryville Pool, Concept 1 was chosen. Concept 1 is a 25-meter pool heated on the north side of the facility. If you're familiar with the pool, that's a little different than it is now. The interactive kids pool is right up close to the entrance. And we also have a double slide splashdown pool. Now, each one of these pools have enlarged areas for swim lessons. We sat down with the designer to make sure that we had large areas. So all 3 pools will be utilized for swim lessons. And the kids pool and the slide pool, again, for some of the younger kids who can't stand in 3 foot of water. So it creates a lot of hours. Shade was a big process with this. As you can see, there's shade all around all of the pool's deck areas. We even relocated the equipment room to an area on the south side of the pool to eliminate some sightline issues, but also to open it up a little more, make it a little more deck space. This is an artist's rendering of what the pool may look like once it goes through final design. But the layout and how it's laid out is exactly what we're going to work off of. Let's go to Maryview Park. So Maryview Park, Concept 1 was chosen. You'll see a pattern here in which concepts were chosen as we go through the other sites. Again, it is in the same location as the pool is now. So the existing bathhouse and pump house will remain. What they'll be used for at this point in time is still to be decided. But the pump house, the part of it will be used to house the equipment for this new splash pad. So splash pad is in a large open ADA area, 8 to 12 spray features, integrated shade on the exterior of that, and seating within those shade areas for people to hang out with. As you can see, quite a few trees right off the parking lot, so it'll be good access. At Holiday Park, and here's again just a rendering of what it could look like. And during this process, part of the voting was also they got to vote on the spray features that were going to be used at each location. So the community chose the spray features that were being used. They also chose the interactive play feature at the pool, which is a large dump bucket. Holiday Park, the splash pad will be in the same place as the pool. And again, went with option 1. Shade is around the exterior. The existing buildings will stay, and they will be utilized for other options at another time. So next steps is where we go from here. And again, you'll see a artist rendering. And if you've been to see these splash pads at El Oso or Mariposa, these are really well utilized, especially when it gets hot. They also operate outside of the normal pool season. Normal pool season is roughly Memorial Day through the end of July and then weekends. These will open up on Memorial Day and go all the way into October. So it gives a and they are also open 7 days a week from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. So it really is a good option with the pool having been removed as part of this project. So we've gone through the public input process. That's been completed. We're currently working on final design. So the layouts that were chosen by the community, those are the layouts that will be used. And we will work with the designer to fine tune everything, to put everything together, what tile we're going to use, what filtration systems we're going to use, what diving boards, what the pool surfaces, how they will actually go together and the equipment that we use. So that's about a 6 to 9 month process. And then we will go into construction. Construction, you're talking 9 to 12 months. And having just completed East Lake Pool, for those of you who were there, that was about the same timeline as that pool. And then we will move to the grand opening process once that happens. And that is the end of the presentation. If you have any questions.
Thank you. That's exciting. Board members, any questions? Sarah, real quick. All right.
Yeah,
Sarah.
thank you so much. Will the splash pads be accessible without people paying a fee, the aquatics fees?
Board Member Porter, yes, ma'am. They are open. There's no fence around them. They are open, free of charge. It's just an amenity in the park, just like a playground.
Okay, great. That was my concern,
But-
that you might have to go
But
through
the
some
difference
kind
with
of
the
gate.
recirculated splash pads is they do require a Maricopa County permit, and they have a call box there in case there's a problem. But they are not as part of the aquatic, and because of that, we do not have to have lifeguards there. So it's a free feed area.
So it's similar to going to a playground in contrast with going through a pool and going essentially through a gate, through an entrance.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Board Member Padilla.
And thank you. A recommendation to considering the design using solar panels. I saw that you have quite a bit of shade, but utilizing solar panels as shade and also the equipment for the pumps, for the lights and so forth. And then another question recommendation, using materials for the parking that are different from asphalt. To again, looking at that heat mitigation of the
Yes, ma'am.
entire park.
Yes, ma'am. Again, these projects will not impact the parking lot or that, but yes, we can look at solar as an option for, that can be looked at as an option for using at the facility.
Thank you. Any other questions? Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, great presentation. I just want to actually commend the staff. I mean, when I came to the city in the 80s, this was an issue and a problem because the maintenance of those small neighborhoods was just untenable and having to repair and replace them. And it's not an easy thing to take a pool away from a neighborhood that had it for all those years and you could walk to it and that kind of thing. So, dial it 40 years in advance. We're finally able, thanks to the good work of a lot of you and people before you who probably are retired now, to figure out a pathway to convert what was a system that worked when it was built, but it didn't really into the 80s and 90s and the 2000s didn't really make sense anymore from a community service perspective, from an efficient use of capital dollars and operating dollars perspective, for a community that needs ways to cool down, right, that are free or very limited price. And so I want to say it because I think it's really fantastic that you all were able to A, get the funding, B, get the community support, and C, find solutions that will make people happy and, be a much better way to serve the community in this current environment and, current just what's going on in the city as a place that's evolved a lot. So congratulations to all of you who've been involved in it. It will make Phoenix better. And it's so great how much the community supported this transition. It takes a lot of skill to get that to happen.
Board Member Naymark, we appreciate those comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a couple of quick questions. I know you mentioned that no lifeguard will be necessary, but is there city staff at the splash pads or will there be?
Chairman Moya, with what we've been able to work out with the county, we had to with Mariposa and El Oso, because yes, someone would have to be there. The call box takes the place of that. So the call box is answered by the person at the front desk at the district office, who then dispatches someone to the site. And after hours, it goes to a call tree that gets to one of the rovers to dispatch someone to the site. And they could call someone from specialized maintenance to come out if it's a pumper or other issue. But there's also an emergency stop button there. But that is something, a variance we got with the county to eliminate the need to have to pay staff to stand there and watch the splash pad for 12 hours a day.
Perfect. And I think these questions were answered when the initial, but do we know the distance between the two parks that will be splash pads to the full swimming pool? Like how many miles do we?
I believe it's less than 2 miles.
Less than 2 miles. Perfect. One last question, and I just need to know this for myself, probably TMI. How old were those pools that we were closing?
So Chairman Moya, my job at the city started in 2002. I've been taking care of these pools since then. The median age of our pools is 80 years old. So we just redid East Lake. The floor on that was poured in 1929 and had no rebar in it. These pools, and Maryville Pool has been redone a couple of times, but yeah, these are all late 70s, early 80s facilities. And I think it's an opportunity to bring something. It's a mini water park for $1 for people in those neighborhoods. Instead of going to, they have an interactive play feature. They have a heated pool. We'll be able to train lifeguards on the west side. We don't have a pool past 39th and Cactus to train lifeguards. That's East Lake. That'll be the first inner city pool we can train lifeguards at because we've been able to update it. And that's one of the things that this helps with, to do that. But yeah, the age of these pools, and in 2009, the bathhouse was redone, but the pool was resurfaced and a couple other things done. But this is really going to be a great amenity for this community.
It's very exciting. And again, thank you to you and your team for the level of community engagement. That's always very important to the board. So thank you very much for taking that extra step. It's exciting. Thank you. We're going to go ahead and move to public comment. I don't think we have any, but I will read it anyway. We welcome citizen input. However, items brought to the board's attention cannot be discussed unless they are listed as agenda item. Action taken as a result of public comments will be limited of requesting staff to study the matter or rescheduling the matter until further consideration and/or decision at a later date. So now it's the board chair's report, but I do also want to acknowledge something else here. A lot has happened since we met last. We have 2 new board members. We also have new director, Marty. Thank you. Congratulations on that position. But we also have a new deputy city manager, Cynthia Aguilar. Congratulations, Cynthia. It was always fun working with you, but we know you're not going far. You just sit in the cheap seat. No, just kidding. You will be there, and congratulations on your new position. Well deserved. Thank you very much. My chair report. Morning yoga. We'd like to invite you to join morning yoga at Encano Clubhouse. This is a gentle all levels class designed to help you start your weekend feeling refreshed and energized. The next session will take place on Saturday, February 14th, just on Valentine's. Look at that. From 9 to 10 a.m. at the Encampa Park Clubhouse located at 2499 North 15th Avenue in Phoenix. Then we have the 30th Annual Trail Trek. Please mark your calendars for the 30th Annual National Trail Trek. That's a mouthful. This special event celebrates South Mountain's iconic National Trail, a historic and scenic route that stretches from Pima Canyon on the eastern edge of the mountain all the way to San Juan Lookout on the western ridgeline. Participants will take on a 15.5-mile hike that showcases the incredible diversity of the Sonoran Desert. Along the way, you'll encounter a wide range of desert plants and may even spot some of the wildlife that calls South Mountain home. This event will take place at the South Mountain Preserve on Saturday, February 21st from 5:30 a.m. till 5 p.m. We hope you'll be able to join us. That's all I have. Any board member comments? Go right ahead.
I just have one comment. One, congratulations for the position in to all the presenters. Amazing, very comprehensive presentations. and is starting the year like, yes, we are informed, and it will be an outstanding year. So thank you.
Thank you. Go right ahead, Jessica. You're on mute. You're still on mute. Sorry, I know you had some amazing things to say. Anything she could do, Tanya, to help? Oh, yeah. Yeah, sorry, Jessica, you're not on mute, so
Mr. Chair, while
go right
she's
ahead.
trying to figure it out, I just had a couple of items. I really appreciate the comprehensiveness of the report on the code of conduct, and I know this has been going on for a while. I'm having trouble digesting the information the way it's presented, and maybe you already have this, but I would love to see some sort of graphical presentation over type of violation and time and that kind of thing, if that's something that could be accomplished. No rush, but it would help me. I'm a more visual person, I think, when I look at data. And then secondly, I heard Mr. Van Gass's comment on an item that was on consent. It'd be great to know the answer to the question about the funding. And maybe somebody has it right now and can say it, but since it's already past time, however you want to deal with it is fine.
Mr. Chair and members of the Parks Board, Board Member Neymark, we can definitely add the graphics to the code of conduct, and we'll get some information together for the board about the 3PI funding.
Thank you. Jessica, do you want to try again? No luck. Sorry. Next time. Any other comments? No? So the director's report.
All right, Mr. Chair and members of the Parks Board, I'll have Assistant Director Brandy Barrett start us off this evening.
Thank you, Marty. Well, we're going to start with the 4th annual Hike with a Firefighter Hear from a Park Ranger event. The Parks and Recreation Department is celebrating Black History Month with a special outdoor community event. This will be our 4th annual event at South Mountain Park and Preserve. This is a free, family-friendly gathering, and it invites residents to explore the natural beauty of the park while learning about local history and outdoor safety. Participants will have the chance to meet firefighters and park rangers, hear helpful safety tips, and join guided hikes along the mountain trails. The event will also feature food trucks, giveaways, and activities designed to bring the community together in a fun and meaningful way. The hike takes place on January 31st at 8:30 a.m. at the South Mountain Visitor Center and is open to all members of the public. I hope to see you there. For over 3 decades, the APS Electric Light Parade has been a beloved City of Phoenix tradition where city departments, families, neighborhood groups, and businesses unite to create a spectacular, free, family-friendly holiday event enjoyed by hundreds of thousands each year. This festive celebration fosters a sense of community, bringing people together through a shared experience and instilling pride in the city. In 2025, the parade celebrated its 38th year with a record-breaking turnout, featuring helium balloons, marching bands, miniature horses, 100 float entries that drew over 400,000 attendees. Beyond the live crowds, the parade reached even more viewers through broadcasts on ABC 15's Facebook Live and replays throughout December, along with coverage on Phoenix 11. Together, these broadcasts garnered over 1 million cumulative views. Sincere gratitude goes out to the Northeast Division for organizing this event and to all of the full-time and part-time staff from across the department whose hard work made this event a success. It was a powerful display of community spirit and truly allowed the City of Phoenix to let it glow.
Thank you, Brandy. I'm grinning already because this is one of my favorite events that we put on. So last week, the Parks Department hosted the Itty Bitty Golf Open featuring a custom 9-hole solar system themed course designed specifically for young golfers. A city golf professional provided an engaging lesson on golf club selection and basic techniques before families took to the course. After completing all 9 holes, participants enjoyed snacks and refreshments. This Itty Bitty Open welcomed over 100 children ages 3 to 5 for a free morning of golf instruction, games, and mini tournaments. Under the guidance of the PJ professional, Families learn foundational golf skills in a fun, non-competitive environment. And the best thing, each child left with their own set of golf clubs, generously donated by the Junior Golf Association of Arizona. This past weekend, the Parks Department in the city of Phoenix celebrated the birthday of Martin Luther King Jr. The city had several events highlighted by the 40th annual Living the Dream Awards Breakfast, commemorative march from East Lake Park to the festival at Hans Park. So I'm bittersweet and hand this over to Brandy for our last item.
Thank you, Marty. Last but certainly not least, and thank you so much for the privilege to recognize our Deputy Parks and Recreation Director, Scott Coughlin, and congratulate him on his upcoming retirement. Thank you, board, for indulging me for a few minutes. Scott came to the city in 2002, as he shared earlier, with private sector experience in facility operations and management, and was hired on as the park's specialized maintenance supervisor. In this role, Scott managed a team responsible for plumbing, building trades, and construction, supporting department operations across the city, including the operation and maintenance of our 29 aquatic facilities. In 2015, Scott promoted to Northwest Division as the park supervisor, where he managed maintenance employees, contracted personnel, and volunteers to maintain division parks and facilities and supported capital improvement projects. While with the Northwest Division, Scott led the way as the first City of Phoenix team member to complete the National Parks and Recreation Association Maintenance Management School, which is a 2-year comprehensive professional development program. In 2019, Scott returned to special operations as the special operations supervisor, where he served until he promoted into his current role as the special operations deputy director in 2021. During his 24 years with Phoenix, Scott has focused on enhancing operations and ensuring that pools, parks, and facilities are in good, safe working order. He has successfully led and inspired the teams who do all the critical behind-the-scenes work that make our parks, programs, and facilities run. Scott has led innumerable pool renovation projects. He approaches these projects always working to improve efficiency, save money, and produce the best quality aquatic experience for the city. He led the team to ensure compliance with when the federal Virginia Grain-Baker Act became effective. Scott quickly ensured all 29 facilities were safe and available. Scott has served on many department-wide and citywide initiatives over the years, leaving an indelible mark on the department and the city. He helped create the Gardener Apprentice Program, wrote the Department Hazardous Building Materials Program, supported development of the SAP work order system to track staff hours, and led development of several important trainings, including Back to Basics, Foreman's Academy, and Personal Protective Equipment training. All along the way, his colleagues and supervisors consistently praised Scott for his positive attitude, strong work ethic, ability to motivate his team, and to deliver quality results. Simply put, over his 24 years with the city, there has not been a problem that Scott couldn't solve. He is deeply committed to his career, inspiring others, building the Parks and Recreation team, and supporting his staff. He is truly a transformational leader. So with that, thank you, Scott, for your commitment to excellence, service to others, for being a wonderful human being and colleague, and congratulations on your well-earned retirement.
Thank you, Brandy. That concludes our director's report.
Thank you. Yes, congratulations, and hopefully you don't fail at retirement like I have. Enjoy it. It's fun. Thank you to all my board members, fellow board members, for being here tonight. Thank you to staff for working and getting us all prepared, because we can sound intelligent up here. We greatly appreciate you, and we will see you next month. Thank you.